Today I'm going to be comparing the 510 Freerider Pro versus the 510 Trailcross shoes. So first off, there's a pretty obvious difference. These are pretty used and then these are brand new. I've never even ridden in these or anything, but I'll try and get the best impression of both that I can. First impressions, just looking at them, obviously this back part is much thinner on the Trailcross, whereas the Freerider Pro, there's quite a bit more padding around the edges, and same goes for the tongue on both. This one's much more flexible, whereas this one has more padding, seems a little bit stiffer. And then moving on to the part that matters most is the sole of the shoes. So as you can see on the Freerider Pros, it's these little dots all the way up the whole entire sole, whereas the Trailcross shoes have a little bit different pattern in the back. And then on this middle portion where it's going to be on the pedal is the same as the Freerider Pros. It's these little dots again, and then the front has a little bit different cuts in these circles, and then around the edges looks like it has a different tread pattern to help with hiking grip. And in case you're wondering, I am wearing one of each on each side because I'm outside and I don't feel like being in my socks. The Freerider on my left is torn a little bit. This is from hitting a stump on them, but I think with any pair of shoes that would have happened. Going back up here on the front of the shoes, on the Trailcross, there is a bit more mesh all the way around the shoe here, so I'm expecting it to breathe much better. And I'm actually pretty excited for this coming up for the Texas summer. I do notice with these that my feet don't breathe super great. There are some little vents up here, but all around the shoe it's completely closed off, I'm just guessing for durability and whatnot. The toe cap on this shoe is actually super firm. I can hardly even press into it, so I'm confident that even with the mesh, if I did hit a rock or a stump or something, it would still protect my toes pretty well. And of course there's only so much force you could really impact a shoe before it actually damage your foot on the inside. On the Freerider Pros, there is a line here where there is also a pretty stiff toe cap, and then this middle part being leather or whatever it is obviously much stiffer than the mesh on this side. So today's test, I'm at Cat Mountain in Austin, Texas. I'm going to be doing a half lap on each shoe and a full lap on each shoe. I'm going to start off with the Freerider Pros. I've had these for about a year and a half, no complaints about them, it's just what I know. So I'm gonna do a half lap, or actually I'm gonna start on a full lap on these. And I'm also not warmed up, so I think it would be a little bit better just to start on what I know and then move over to the new shoe once I'm warmed up. So yeah, I'll see you up there. One other thing I failed to mention, which is probably important, is I'm riding on these Crank Brothers Danny McAskill stamp pedals. There's his signature pedals. These are the large size. I wear a size 12 to 13. Alrighty, so I'm starting off at the top of Cat Mountain right now. This is my first run. It's going to be a full lap. Starting out with a pretty strong little G out into a climb. Like I said earlier, I'm on the 510 Freerider Pros to start off with. I've ridden out here many times and also ridden out here many times wearing these shoes. I don't have any doubts that these shoes will perform well. I've never really had issues with these at all, besides the integrity of that left toe getting ripped open. But I've never had issues with grip. I'm confident that in all the big hits that this place offers, that they won't fail. This trail is called Narfield. It's a good little warm-up trail. It did rain a few days ago, so it's mostly hero dirt. I am going to be a little careful on like roots and slippery looking rocks just to be safe and err on the side of caution until I figure out how well it's gripping up. But yeah, let's continue on. Alright, so I'm still on Narfield right now. I'm just heading over to Cat DH and 9 Lives. And then over there I'll be taking Cat DH, and that'll be a good test on some bigger hits of what these shoes can handle. I'm fully confident that they'll grip up. And then actually up here I have a good hiking section to kind of test these. So up here I have a little hike-a-bike section. Initial impressions hiking up with these, you can definitely tell they're made more for biking. And with that being said, what I mean by that is the whole sole of the shoe feels flat. There's not any more support in the front, any more in the back. It feels level when you're standing on flat ground. So what that equates to in hiking is you feel like the heel of your shoe is off of the ground most of the time. Whereas with a hiking shoe, there'd be kind of like a raised heel to make up for that. And that way you're able to plant more of your foot while you're hiking. So in that section, I'm excited to try the Trailcross shoes and see if I notice a positive difference. So this is called Cat DH. It's a double black downhill trail, and this goes all the way back down the mountain. Lots of rocky chunk as well as some wooden features that'll be coming up. And the GoPro won't do this trail justice on how steep it actually is, but it is plenty steep. This is called the whale tail. It's a little gap jump. Just gonna give it a spot before we go. Dropping into the whale tail. This will be a bigger impact. Like I said earlier, no issues with grip on the Freerider Pros. They stayed absolutely put in the same exact spot that whole entire run. So I'm not disappointed with these at all. Mainly just switching because that left one is compromised and ripped open. And coming up to the summer heat, I'm definitely wanting something that's gonna breathe a little better. At the half lap spot, I just climbed up and I'm still wearing my 510 Freerider Pro shoes. This is the second and final lap of this comparison that I'm going to be doing on them. This trail is going to have a few heavy hits. It's a little bit easier than Cat DH, but it'll definitely still test the grip and just give a good impression of the ride quality. So yeah, let's continue on. So this, I just saw a sign, is called Frisky Whiskers. All right, little drop. And a little kicker. Nose pivot. And that's the finish of that stage. Once again, no issues with the grip. Overall, these shoes feel great for riding. There's so many people that run these, I don't think you could go wrong as a strictly just riding shoe. Alrighty, so I just finished a half and a full lap on the Freerider 510 Pros. These are a size 13, and I just wanted to list some pros and cons before I switch over to the Trailcross shoes. The pros of these being, so these are a size 13, they feel true to size. They don't feel too tight, but they also don't feel too loose. Second, the flat sole on them really grips to the pedals. You can move your foot around if you want to ride more on the front of them or more on the back of them, or right in the middle. Anywhere on the sole is pretty tough, and you have about like an inch or so of sole on them, so you're not really going to feel the pedals impacting into your foot. You're just going to feel like you have a nice stiff but also somewhat forgiving sole to the shoe. They have a nice leather all around them, or kind of like a fake leather. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it feels protective. It makes me feel like my feet are going to be protected from any roots that get flung up, or if I hit my foot on anything at a mild to moderate pace. So the reason for switching is mainly I just want to try something new, that being the Trailcross shoes, and have something that's better for both biking and hiking. I do hike in these, and they're not the best for longer hikes, but I just like to have one do-it-all shoe to get dirty on the bike or while out hiking. So really the only cons of these that aren't going to be cons for everyone, they have a flat sole, which is great for the pedal grip, but not quite as great for hiking. And second off, these are a little bit hot during the summertime because the only venting you have is right here on the front of them. But other than that, I really can't complain, and those are honestly pretty tiny complaints to have if you live somewhere in a more mild environment. And if you're using them solely for riding, they work out just fine. I've just switched over to the Trailcross shoes. First impressions of these look more kind of like a tennis shoe to me, whereas the Freerider Pros look more like a skate shoe. These definitely feel a little bit more narrow, a little bit thinner on the side, and I can actually already feel more of a breeze coming into these. So I'm excited to see how these are going to feel by the end of the ride. With these versus the Freerider Pros, I do feel like there's a bit more of sole here at the end of the shoe and a little bit less in the front. So I do feel like there's a little bit more height being added in the back, but that could also be due to there being a little bit less sole in the front. Also, what I'm noticing is these nice little channels it has right here for water and stuff to get through, and I'm also guessing that that's going to vent nicely with air going under the toe portion. So I'm going to head back up to the top and do a full lap on these and come back down and then do a half lap. I'm going to use the climb to figure out where on my pedal I'm going to want these to sit so that I can give a good ride impression once I'm actually on the trail. So I will see you up there. I'm back at the top of Narfield now, and I just want to report back on the Trailcross shoes before I start going down these trails. The first main thing that I felt on these shoes while climbing was that there was actually much more airflow going through the shoe than I expected. And it was a welcome feeling having that, because we're going into summer now and it'll be much nicer to have a more breathable shoe. So I was actually pretty blown away by how breathable these felt. Second off, I was able to find a spot on the pedal that I like to have these within about like 100 yards of riding or so. So it was easy for me to find a spot where I felt like I was putting down the same power that I'm used to and still being comfortable on the pedal. I'm still on these Crank Brothers flat pedals. This is the same day, back-to-back tests, so nothing's changed there. So yeah, I'm gonna drop in a Narfield. I'm gonna go down some of the same trails and a couple different ones just to change up the ride a little bit, but I'll do a couple of same ones just to get like a real hard comparison between the two shoes. Dropping in the Narfield, I'm on the 510 Trailcross shoes. Yeah, so going through that G out and then straight into the climb afterwards, they gripped up just fine. There's actually some debris in the trail there, so I stopped to clear it off and then had to hike up a little bit. And I could definitely feel the front of these shoes. You can dig in quite a bit more into the ground. So that actually felt really good for hiking. This trail is called Grom. It's got a little drop at the start into a berm. Nice little cutty section. Let's see. I think I went the wrong way here. Let's see if I can find the way over. There we go. Now I'm not sure. I think this is either called, this is called Bucknar. I've also heard people call it Catfight. It's kind of like straight speed chunk. Really gonna test the grip of these shoes. And yeah, my feet are not going anywhere. Oh yeah. Watch out for that tree. And yeah, those shoes did great on that. They didn't move. So I'm doing a little just hike a bike right here and gonna try and get an impression of what these shoes feel like while hiking. So as far as hiking goes, the kind of front third of this shoe feels way more flexible. I feel like I'm able to dig into the ground much easier. Overall, the footprint feels a lot lighter when you're walking in these, and it definitely feels like more of a well-rounded hiking and biking shoe, whereas the Freerider Pros definitely going to be more of just to go out riding on some flat pedals and maybe do a little bit of hiking. I'm making my way over to Cat DH right now, and like I said in my last clip on hiking, these definitely feel like in the front they're gripping a little better. And I'm hiking up this same hill again. I'm trying to figure out, it definitely feels like there's more support coming from the heel, but surprisingly I'm feeling a lot more grip coming from the front of these shoes compared to the Freerider Pros. They also feel a lot lighter on my feet, which is definitely welcome while hiking. All right, so this is called 9 Lives. I just went and scoped this trail out. And so yeah, basically like you just saw, it's a gap jump into like an 8 to 10 foot step down depending on where you land. And I mean, these shoes did not move at all on either. And I even tried to overshoot both just a little bit to test. All right, here we go. Gonna hit Cat DH again. I'm still on the 510 Trailcross shoes. So we're gonna get a comparison test on Cat DH. I mean, yeah, my impression from this first part of the trail is they're gonna grip up just fine, so I'm confident they'll continue that. Like these kickers, you're landing to flat and taking a pretty decent little impact. And yeah, no issues. Let's go into the whale tail, see how they do on this. Oh yeah, no problem. All right, let's go get that half lap. Alrighty, I'm dropping in for another half lap. This time I'm on the Trailcross 510s. This time I'm hitting Cat Hater. That's what this trail's called. I definitely do not hate cats though, but I like this trail. It's very nice, I like. Oh, little nose pivot. Here we go. Going into the 360 burn. See if we can, get that jump. Nice little rock drop to another berm. That was actually the first time I hit that dirt jump. That was sick. Alright, I just finished on my ride. I'm just gonna give some final impressions of the Trailcross 510s. So this is my first day riding on these, so more of just pros and cons, kind of based on first impressions. The first thing I noticed with these is how much more breathable they are with all the mesh. So it's complete mesh all right here. So that was very noticeable and much more than I expected. And I'm pretty excited to have that for the summertime riding. Second off, the sole of these is just as supportive as the Freerider Pros. I didn't feel like there was really any compromise there. And third off, they were actually surprisingly good for hiking. Today I was just doing hike-a-bikes. It wasn't necessarily like a prolonged or hike only type day, but I'll definitely try that in the future, and I'm confident that these will perform well. As far as cons go, I can't really say much since I've only ridden on them today. The only thing I could see, again with this mesh area in the front here, is if like a rock was thrown up or a stump grabbed right there, I could see that being more of an impact versus the Freerider Pros, since they have kind of more material there. But yeah, other than that, they were great. Thanks for watching.